So welcome to Creatives in the Wild, and today we're going to be chatting with a gentleman who, and I use that term loosely, an artist, cartoonist, author, prize-winning author and artist, and
man about town,
husband, and I'm proud to say my friend, Mr. Glenn McCoy.
Thanks.
Yay.
So, thanks for inviting me, Kevin.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for spending some time. So Glenn is a man of many talents, and we've known each other now for a decade, I guess.
I think so.
Yeah. And what brought us together was
shared love of monsters.
Absolutely,
movies.
Universal Monsters.
Yep.
I saw your work, and I knew you were going to be doing a show at Haunted Limp Mansion in St. Louis.
Yeah, and we've done like mini shows.
We have, and we're doing another one. Yeah,
Sure.
later this year, and hopefully continue.
Yeah, if any Halloween monster lovers are in the area, I totally encourage them to check this out.
Halloween, science fiction, music, and monsters.
It's a party.
Yeah, it is a party. It really is. It's a good time. Yeah. We actually sometimes sell some art there too, but we certainly show art.
Mm-hmm.
And
it's what all art shows should be, in my.
I think so too, and I don't even know all that much about art shows, but
art is fun, and usually you go to a gallery and everyone's like all uptight. And this thing, everyone's just having a ball.
No fingers out eating and stuff. I mean, but there's definitely drinking and some dancing that happens. And it's like, for a lot of friends, and a lot of good times.
Yep.
So, and love of Universal Monsters. Even though we're almost a decade apart in age, we both kind of grew up with that love of the monsters and the old black and white monster movies.
Yeah, I've never outgrown it.
Yeah,
I can watch them over and over, and I get something out of it each time.
Yeah, and you shouldn't grow out of it. I mean, I know I have grandkids that they'll say, "Oh, well, it's black and white. It can't be any good," you know. But oh my God, the things they used to do with those, the shadows and
it's a touchstone to my childhood, and like I've heard many artists like Picasso discuss how you spend the early part of your career like trying to get a style and mature and draw like the masters, and then the last part of your career you're trying to get back to your childhood. And like I think you would agree, like these monster movies and stuff, it immediately connects me to my childhood. I still feel the same about them.
Yeah, absolutely. I just recorded the original King Kong with Fay Wray.
Nice.
And I can remember sitting by myself, in a dark room, and it's like, oh, it's commercial break. I'll go and make some popcorn, and I come back, okay, it's back on, and it's just great stuff.
I remember watching the Peter Jackson remake, and I was so psyched about that because I loved Lord of the Rings, the Lord of the Rings trilogy he did, and so the movie came out. I was the first one in the theaters. I was so psyched, and after I watched it, I told my wife, I'm never going to watch this movie again. I'm just going to go back to watching the first one. You can't touch it.
Yeah. What do you think you're most known for? Your work with the Minions and Despicable Me movies, or?
Well, that work is most known. I'm not sure how many people know that I've worked on all these movies because my name is just this scroll at the end. But I would say the Duplex, maybe the comic strip I draw.
Yeah.
In that, it's got my name on it. It runs in newspapers all over the place. So when I was working on like one of the Minions movies, and I was in Paris, like one of the few times I was working out of there, I was talking to some of the animator artists at the studio, and they knew me because I did all the Mickey Mouse and Goofy and Donald Duck cartoons for this little magazine that they sold by the TV guides and the checkout lane called Disney Adventures. And I worked on that for like 10 years, and like for some reason, like all these French people knew that work, which no one around here knows. I mean, I don't even share it on Instagram or Facebook or anything. So I thought that was weird.
But you started really young. I read something that said that you were kind of led to art by your older brother and grandfather.
Yeah, and they were the only two left-handers besides me and my family, which is, I don't know what that says. But my grandpa, when I was like 3 or 4, he would sit me down at a kitchen table and he'd give me a piece of paper and a pencil and And he would just draw a line and say, now draw that line, and I would do it. And that's how he taught me how to draw. Like half hour later, there'd be two drawings of a naked woman, and my grandma would chase us out of the kitchen or something. But that's kind of got me going. And then my brother Gary, who's also a cartoonist, and we share a lot of the same clients and greeting card companies and syndicate and stuff like that. He got me going because I looked up to him and I just wanted to do whatever he was doing. But I immediately, I was like, my family called me like my brothers had a word for it. They called me Dopsy because I lived in this fantasy bubble where they'd be talking to me and I would just be drawing and like not hearing anything. I would just be, and then they have to like shake me. Hey, I'm talking to you. But that's kind of like, I'm still that way. I just, when I'm not drawing for a client, I'm drawing for myself because it's just cathartic. I get pleasure out of it.
We have other things in common too, like our love of certain artists. I mean, there are a bunch of them that jump out, but Frank Frazetta is one that such great stuff. And,
oh my gosh, it opened up a whole universe to me. I was in freshman year high school, and someone brought in those Valentine books, and they were passed around like contraband, and we were just absorbing this, and it's like each painting was like a world. I mean, Frazetta, he doesn't paint details, he just paints moods and emotion and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember like what an impact that had on me. Yeah, and like we're also fans of like a lot of the heavy metal magazine artists like Moebius and Droulet and those guys, and Corbin.
The masters of comic book art, really.
Yeah, exactly. Charles Schultz, who is the Mac Daddy of cartoonists for me, he's the sole reason why I got into comic strips, because I used to collect and read every Peanuts paperback. I have a stack like 4 feet high, I still have it, where I would just absorb these Snoopy and Charlie Brown books and study the timing. There were 4 panels, and the third panel was typically a timing device that he used. And then later on, I got to know him, and my wife and I had the privilege of going to dinner with them and spent 3 hours just, fanboying out on him, and hearing him discuss things like the first Christmas special that he did, the TV special, and how groundbreaking that was. And he's very proud of it, and I was just cool. I was just absorbing all that.
Yeah. I also had read at one time that you got in trouble at school and had to sign something saying that you would not draw pictures of your teacher anymore.
That was the story that a teacher told me. Another teacher I ran into at a coffee shop, we just happened to be, and we're talking about high school and stuff, and he said, yeah, I took a notebook from you, and in the notebook had all caricatures of all the teachers, and and we were like in the teachers lounge passing around and laughing at all of it and stuff, and I go, yeah, I'd like to get that back. And he said, no, I lost it.
Oh man,
it's like,
that
yeah,
would be
sure
awesome
you
to have
did.
that. Yeah. Let's talk about some of your art. There's a piece you did that I love that I think you did in college. That is, it's almost like maybe it's a Persian woman with lots of like beads. I remember it fine detail. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, it's in my bathroom.
Is it?
Yeah. In college, in high school and college, I always wanted to be a cartoonist, but it seemed like a pipe dream. It seemed like an impossible thing to be, because you don't see like one ads for syndicated cartoonists or anything.
Yeah.
So I put that aside because my second love was illustration, and so I thought that's what I was going to be. And so I majored in illustration and graphic design in college, but like a lot of the first few years of my career was spent just doing illustration. But I used to spend a lot of time on those drawings, like hours and hours.
It was like pen and ink, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah, and then I painted it like with oil. I did like an oil wash on it, but it was Matahari. It was like this really cool photo that I found. Yeah.
You grew up in Stuckey Terrace area, and did an animated short series, right, about Stuckey Terrace life?
Yeah, like the first part of my career was all doing print stuff. So it was like syndicated comic strips, greeting cards, magazine work, and everything. And then like 1999 to year 2000 or whatever, I started doing work for animation studios. It was Disney at first, and then branched out in other things. And I worked for Illumination, which is all the Minions and Grinch and Lorax, Secret Life of Pets. But yeah, during that early time, I was doing a lot of pitching. Like I would go out to, like I had a pilot with Disney, which was like semi-autobiographical, called Wedgies, about me in grade school. And that went to pilot, so I learned how to direct and how to, animate and how to storyboard, and went through all the stages of production, scoring the music and directing the actors. And then I went out to pitch to Fox, which was like prime time, like adult more stuff. And I brought another autobiographical show called Sugi Terrace, which is based on growing up in this neighborhood in the 70s with three hell-raising brothers who were always, getting in trouble and having the cops chase them and stuff. So I just thought, segueing back to that story about me living in a fantasy bubble, I interpreted the 70s through that prism of a kid who romanticizes everything, like Frazetta paintings and everything. He sees everything as
Farrah
being,
Fawcett.
Yeah.
I remember that's a big part of it.
My Farrah Fawcett poster would talk to me and stuff. So so that went to pilot as well. And so it was another near miss that I sit alone in my basement and watch.
I do some voiceover stuff and commercial stuff, and it's like you can throw 100 things out there and think, it's awesome, but it's not what they're interpreting it as. And not so.
I pitched it to Fox as, you guys know the 70s through this LA, California, Dazed and Confused kind of, way of looking at things where everyone was just stoned and catching good vibes and kind of goofy, that 70s show. It's like growing up in the Midwest 70s, it was like muscle cars, Led Zeppelin, hard rock, fights in the parking lot of a Dairy Queen.
Kegger in the park.
After a homecoming, kegger parties on the field. Cops coming.
On the farm field,
Everyone running through the field and getting killed by like serial killers and stuff. Everyone in the Midwest is going to like identify with this. It's like all FM hard rock music instead of like Fleetwood Mac.
And that's another thing, is music that kind of pulls us together, because you're a big Robert Plant, Led Zeppelin fan. I had a brother who owned a record store when I was in high school, and so I was exposed to a whole lot of stuff. And
well, you worked for radio stations.
Worked for radio stations, so I got to see, my first week, we were just talking about, I got to see Robert Plant the first week at a fairly small venue.
I snuck in backstage at a Robert Plant concert claiming to date his daughter, Carmen. And me and my brother got all the way back onto the stage as he's walking out to take the stage. And he's shaking hands with my brother as the security guards are dragging me away. It's like, this dude's making physical contact with Robert Plant and you're pulling me away. But Robert Plant got a good laugh out of it.
Yeah. Let's talk about the monsters and the monster paintings that you do and that you have, because you've got the great universal monsters, which of course we're talking the Mummy, Frankenstein, and Dracula, and the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and Phantom of the Opera.
I just do these very big front-on portraits of them where their faces take up the entire canvas, and I try to mix each one up, as far as like oil, acrylic. Some are high contrast, some look like rock posters, some, so each time I approach it, I try to at least do it in a different way, even though the subject matter is pretty locked in. For me, like instead of doing a landscape, I'll do the Wolfman, but his hair, I feels like a landscape to me. So I'll get into the contours of that, or the wrinkles of Frankenstein's face. For me, it's like cathartic. It's like we had mentioned, it's a touchstone to my childhood, something I love doing, and I love finishing a piece and stepping back and hanging on the wall or whatever. When I was a little kid, I was, watching a creature feature with the lights out and that blue light from the TV, just sort of, radiating your body and stuff. And that's what I try to capture with these paintings, is that these these guys were bigger than life to me, and that's how I want to paint them.
Yeah. Tell me what, like, I think people want to know what inspires you. When something hits you, it's like, okay, I'm motivated. I really want to do this project. What types of things inspire you?
It's so diverse, and I do like, like comic strips. I'm usually inspired less by other comic strips in the paper. I try to actually avoid that because I tend to like, I don't want to start mimicking other people, but like the old Chuck Jones animated stuff, I really get off on that kind of work and the humor and everything, and how they were like aiming just a little bit above the kids, at the parents and all that. So that inspires me. Like in terms of illustration, I draw off of like my kids are really into anime and manga, and so I'm trying to get up to speed with that so we can discuss it and enjoy it together. And I really dig the French people that we talked about, Moebius and Droulet.
Yeah.
And just their approach to cartooning and comics and stuff like that, where the drawing style will actually change on the page, the same page and stuff. That's.
And you're right. I mean, Moebius did that a lot, and it just kind of morphed into a different style. But you got to stay home too, to some degree with Mad Magazine.
Oh my God! Yeah.
I mean, talk about speaking to a different level, or the Rocky and Bullwinkle stuff, and Fractured Fairy Tales.
Oh my God! Yeah. Mad Magazine alone, like Mort Drucker and Jack Davis and Sergio and these guys. You're right. I'm sure most of my drawing style is just springboards from Mad Magazine, Charlie Brown, and Chuck Jones.
Yeah.
Like I would say, like if I was going to make a Mount Rushmore, those guys would be on it.
Any words of inspiration to young artists, or encouragement? Anything that you'd like to? You think that you'd want to tell people, or good advice that you got maybe when you were young?
Advice that I try to pass along to up-and-comers because it helped me. And I think I read this in an interview by Kevin Fagan, who draws a comic strip called Drabble, which I'm a big fan of. And I don't know the exact quote, but I know the sentiment is, when you're starting out, you're looking for a style and everything, and you're trying to please editors or heads of syndicates or whoever. And his advice was, don't write for those people, write for you, because what makes you laugh is going to make a group of people out there in the world laugh, because they will connect with your sense of humor directly. And those will be your most core audience. Those will be your strongest fans.
Yeah.
And you'll be speaking to them, and they're going to get you. It's like I got Charles Schultz and stuff. So write for yourself, write for them, and your audience will find you instead of you looking for your audience.
That's great advice. And and not everybody's going to get you necessarily, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to appeal to the masses. You want that core.
Yeah,
right?
and they're going to get your stuff more deeply because it's sincere. And
Yeah. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah,
I really
thanks,
appreciate it.
Evan. Yeah,
It's
thanks,
always
buddy.
fun, and we will talk soon because we're doing a show.
We're going to do
later
this over
year.
beers later, I'm sure.
I'm down with that. All right, very good. I'm going to go check out the bathroom art.
There
We'll
you
go
go.
from there.
Yeah.
All right.